Live. Good morning, everybody. How's everybody on this wonderful, super Saturday, super self-care Saturday today? I am Traci Williams. I'm your host, and I am the Chief Expanding Officer of Inspiring Hope. And HOPE stands for Having Only Positive Expectations. I have three powerhouse women with me today, some change makers, people that can shake and move and shift some things. And I'm going to start in my right corner. My right corner might be your left. I have Annette Dela Cruz-Norman. I love saying her name, you guys. If you all remember our interview a couple of weeks ago, you'll know that about me. She is the owner of Kick Fit for Life. Yes, and that is her story. She's sticking to it. It's her business, and it's what she does. So, and I know that she has a challenge going on right now with what a young lady that I know, Miss Wanda Booth. So, if you guys want a challenge and some help staying healthy and fit, Annette Dela Cruz-Norman is your girl. You want to see her for sure, and you can find her on Facebook. She's also a certified health coach, health and fitness coach. Okay, so I'm going to go down under me, and I have somebody I just met, and I'm so excited that she is here with us. She's the youngest, the next generation. And moving things, you guys. I love it. Yes, her name is Miss Mariah Weber. She is a daughter of a dear friend of mine. I got to mention her mama's name, Cindy Squall. Yes, that just came out with her new book. She's known for being Miss Bliss. That's what I call her, Miss Bliss. So this young lady, 22 years old, is an activist. She's a leader in her own right, okay? And she is, tell us the name of the group you're with, because I can't remember. I'm not looking at my teleprompter today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a leader locally and nationally with the Sunrise Movement, which is a climate justice organization here in the United States.
Awesome. I love that. And down here in my right corner, I have, and some of you may know her if you don't, I have this, Jessica Mccallop-Mcclellan, and she is a motivational speaker, first and foremost. She is also the president and founder of Hope. What is it called? I'm gonna mess it up. Giving and what? Talk to it, Jessica. Jessica, giving hope and help.
Hope and help.
Yes, giving hope and help. And so I want to thank you guys for joining us this morning. If you're just now joining on, please put your name in the box. Let us know that you are here. We definitely want you to share this as a watch party so other people can watch and see and learn what's going on. We are here today discussing something that might be uncomfortable for some, actually may be uncomfortable for most, but it's definitely a necessary topic that we need to talk about and keep that awareness going. Today we're talking about white privilege and how it can help or benefit and how does it mix with the Black Lives Matter movement today. Yes. Good morning, Marilyn. We're so glad you can join us. Good morning, Grace. Cindy, glad you're here. Thank you so much. I know you guys, we are having technical problems, so I'm going to turn down a little bit. Also, just want to let you know after you be sure and share this because it is going to be some valuable information. Things are always based on our perception is based on what we know, what we believe, what we see, what we hear, what we think, and all that kind of stuff. So let me see. I'm trying to share at the same time. Okay.
Where is it live at? Where is it live?
My regular page. So you guys, just to get us rolling and get us going, before we start, I just want to say, you know what? We all got to agree to disagree. We know racism is alive. It is a thing that happens. It is happening and may happen for a while because it's really not just a skin problem, but this is a sin problem. And that's what we're going to base it off of today. So you may not agree with everything that is said, but hopefully we can educate one another. I want this to be a dialogue amongst everybody watching. So if you have some comments or questions, please put them in the comment box and we will definitely try to get to you. I know this is going to go super duper fast today. And Miss Annette is going to be leaving us at 11 o'clock sharp. So if you guys see her disappear, she's already told me she got to go at 11 o'clock. All right. So we're just going to jump right in here and get going. We're going to start off with, and if you hear a dog in the background, that's my dog. They're spoiled. Yes, I know. So we're going to start off with Miss Mariah. You know, I'd like to know, Mariah, can you tell us this? Because you have had so much experience, even as a young person. What is like your first experience with racism and how you noticed it, and how did that make you feel? Who are you with?
Wow, that is a wonderful question. You know, I was privileged. We'll start it out really topical. I was privileged growing up to live in kind of this very liberal, spiritual, rose-tinted glasses bubble. And so I really don't know that I had a profound experience with really internalizing racism until I was a lot later in life than a lot of people. And so when I went to high school, I went to one of the most diverse high schools in my district. And I transferred out of a wealthier, more distinguished school district, if you will. And when I transferred in order to pursue a program that was offered at this other school, I was met with a lot of concern and criticism, both from friends and then other parents in my community, surrounding that it was in my community was the ghetto school, or that the school was in some way dangerous or harmful, or that there were all these negative things that came out of the school, or the students didn't learn very well. I had a really hard time understanding that until I was in school and I understood that the demographics looked vastly different than where I had been transferring away from. And so over my 4 years at that school, as I came to understand the reality and the actuality of the community that I was in there, I realized how profound my understanding of this community that I lived in was being stigmatized based on the color of the skin of the students who went there. And that was my first time of having a really visceral experience with racism.
Wow. And so how did that make you feel?
I think it felt like, it was kind of a double-edged sword of like, I wanted to be this advocate and this voice of reason among all of the misconceptions around the school that I was going to. I wanted to say, you know, your perception of the school based on the demographic of kids who go there has nothing to do with the quality of education, the quality of community. It's purely based on the stigmas of where I live. But then it was also like, looked at me and they looked at me as like the white girl who went there, and therefore like I was representing something that was not didn't reflect the rest of the student body. And so it was like, no matter what I said, there was always this barrier between like, oh, well, you know, you're different, or you have this different perspective, this different experience, even though it was so collective. And so it was really, I felt very trapped in that.
Yeah, wow, that's pretty different and uncomfortable. What about you, Miss Annette? What was like one of your first experiences, and how did that make you feel?
Well, I to tell you the truth, until all this craziness started happening, I don't know that I understood what white privilege meant. So that's the first thing. I thought white privilege is growing up, you know, with money and all that stuff. So my understanding of that, it took 53 years for me to understand that. Now, being from Costa Rica, being Latina, I came here to go to KU 33 years ago. I've seen discrimination because of the color of your skin. To my friend that was also from Costa Rica that looks Latina, but not against me because I didn't look Latina. I look very white. So it was in college that I started to realize, why are we being looked at different? We're the same. We're two women. We're from Costa Rica, whatever you want to say it. But she was being looked at different. And that was very uncomfortable because I didn't feel it for me, but I felt it for her. And it was weird. It's like, what is wrong with people? I mean, I'm very vocal. So that was probably kind of the first thing. I grew up in another country. So maybe things were a little different when I was younger. I never saw color. But bringing it back to today is understanding that even though I don't feel those pressures and I don't feel that discrimination, that I have a voice, and that we need to say, this is not okay. I may have not experienced it, but it's not okay. You know, right. And I get goosies when I say that, because I cannot put myself Traci in your shoes or Jessica in your shoes or anybody's shoes, because I have not lived that life, but I could do something about it. I can educate people. And I think when I put that banner on my Facebook group about the little education of what white privilege is, I'm sure I like pissed off some people, and I don't care. I almost cursed, but I didn't. I don't care, because education, this is what I do for a living. Education is key, no matter what aspect of our lives. But I did have a very uncomfortable situation years ago in Macon, Georgia, driving with my other Latina friend to Florida. And we stopped at a diner. And that was the first time that I've ever been scared. And it's because we were talking Spanish, and it took a moment of silence, and we left, and the whole restaurant was looking at us because we were different. And we literally paid our tab and left. So that was the only time I have felt scared because of the language I was speaking or who I was with. And it was one very uncomfortable encounter in 53 years. I cannot imagine a daily encounters because of the color.
Yeah, thank you. That's powerful to be able to notice that, and that you never felt that until you were like 53. Then, boom, all of a sudden, and you feel so uncomfortable that you want to leave. And I love how you compare that to how people can feel that every single day, no matter where they are. And just imagine feeling that and having everybody around you saying, "Oh, it's in your head."
Oh,
It's just a mindset, but it's such a reality. So I appreciate you saying that. Thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate that. And I know that you're going to have to go pretty soon. But
actually, no, that got rescheduled, so you have me, whether you want me or not.
well, praise the Lord. And one thing I really enjoy is that from what you guys are saying just so far, racism is not something that we're just born to naturally do. It's something that's taught. And if we can be taught to hate or taught to treat people like they're less than, we can definitely be taught to love. We can be taught to value people. And we can be taught to value what they feel and their experiences. Even though our experiences don't have to always be the same, but we can be taught to just sit and really listen. Like a lot of times our kids, they don't, or even our husbands, you guys, we don't want them to work out our problems for us. We just want to tell them so they can listen, because the answer's on the inside of us. Each and every one of us, we're born with this seed. We're born with a seed of love inside of us. But it's up to us that no matter what happens, we allow that seed to be nurtured and to be cared for and to watch over. We all have a responsibility to do that. And part of that is being able to tell our stories, even though it might be uncomfortable, being able to tell our stories no matter who you are without apology, without being apologetic about it. So I appreciate you ladies coming on here today. I really thank you so much for that. And so I'm just going to move real quickly to Miss Jessica Mccallop-Mcclellan. I like her last name, so I like to get to McClellan. So Jessica, we know that you are an advocate for the voiceless, and you've been through some things, domestic violence and different things like that. So just tell us a little bit about how do you feel about all the issues that are being raised today, especially after the whole George Floyd and those things.
Well, that's my belly is bubbling because it's been my entire life. George Floyd is nothing new. Unfortunately, it's nothing new. What is new about it in 2020 is that there was a video that has awakened the consciousness of the privileged. Any Black person, you and I haven't even asked you this question, but you would concur that this is nothing new. Am I correct?
True.
So any Black person would concur universally that this is nothing new. The George Floyd video what was heartbreaking, and it has awakened the consciousness of a people, specifically the privileged. And I'm so excited to have Mariah on the call or on the Zoom or the platform today, because something was told to me a week ago, and it is so paramount. And I hope I get it right, but if I don't, you can get the gist of it. My grandparents had no choice but to accept it. My parents questioned it. We questioned it, but this new generation is demanding change. So thank you so much, sweetheart, dear heart, for using your privilege and using your voice and joining with us as a human race to dismantle the systemic hatred and racism that has been inbred in the DNA of a people. And when I say inbred, my sister Annette, love you, but that's a prime example of inbred when you don't realize it the one time in 53 years. This systemic racism in America is inbred in people, and they don't even know it, even Black people. Because it's like sometimes we expect to be treated a certain way, like you were, Annette. We know that we don't go to this part of town. When I was your age, or when I was in high school, there was no way I was going to Lee Summit. Am I correct, Traci? You do good to get in Grandview. And if you moved to Grandview as a high school student when I was in high school, you were really something. You know, your parents were doing really well. So this is what I'm saying. I'm excited about the changes that are coming forth. I'm excited about the collaboration. I'm excited about the allies. I'm excited about Annette and Mariah and all of my brown and my white sisters that are coming with the Black sisters and brothers. And we're saying we're not going to have this, and we're not going to accept this anymore. Period. Point blank. And so I'm excited about the things that are happening. Unfortunately, I believe that Jesus sent his son as a sacrificial lamb for us. And I believe that many, many, many Black men and women that have been, and brown women and brown men that have been lynched and castrated and brutally murdered have been. And so how dare I not use my voice to make their murders not in vain?
I love that. I love that thought. That last thought that's really powerful. That's powerful. I was just looking at a quote that I had been kind of meditating on this morning and last night. And actually I put a picture up of it, a young lady about, silence. And the quote is, here's a thought, that white silence is violence. It actively protects the system. And when I say system, I mean every type of system that we have, whether it's a political system, our school system, when it comes to pricing of things, it's just like, imagine playing the game Monopoly for 400 years. Monopoly, where some neighborhoods this costs this, some neighborhoods this costs that. And just because you live in that neighborhood, it doesn't matter what you're like on the inside, the outside, how nice your house is, none of that. Doesn't matter how much money you make, your insurance is going to cost more. Or you might not even be able to be insured, those type of things. So I was just looking at that, like white silence is violence. It protects the systems. It also says I'm okay with the way things are, and mainly because it doesn't affect me, because I have this white privilege. And you know what? White supremacy is a system that you've been born into, right? Whether you know it or not. And sometimes some things, no matter what it is, no matter what you're talking about, they are so ingrained in us that it becomes unconscious. So we just go along with it, and we don't even notice what's going on in the background. And I'll make this really plain. It's like walking into the store 2 months before Christmas. You're going in the store to get one thing, but you come out with something totally different. It may be that one thing because of the music that you hear in the intercom. They might be playing Christmas music, so you get in the Christmas mood. Hey, I'm gonna buy some stuff for the tree. I'm gonna buy this. Oh, this is on sale. You get caught up in it. But we have to learn to be able to have the conversations that are uncomfortable, to hear the stories that don't sound good, to be able to listen to somebody's story, imagine that, and imagine them. How would you feel in their shoes for a day? Just like Annette said, for one day. Imagine yourself in those shoes for one day and how uncomfortable that could be. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there, because the system, it protects you. When you have white privileges, you get protection, right? You get power that comes with that, and you don't even know it. And it really, I can just say, it kind of flips me out when you have friends and they think that it's all in your head. Oh, that just happens every now and then. No, not true, not true. And so again, I just want to get to the point of, hey, we can agree to disagree. That's fine with me. But, I put a note in the comments before we even started. Jessica has a book, and I want her to tell us a little bit about this book. Some things that people can do that are in white skin. Because when I say white people, I don't mean just Caucasian. I mean, other white skin, especially Jewish people. Yes, I said it. Yeah, I know they went through some things, right? Got the reparations and all that. But yes, I said it because a lot of Jewish people, we know they're known for having money, right? So money means that you control some things. You control media, things like that, things that are important, things that influence us every day that we don't even think about. You control some political decisions out here for people that you don't even know. So Jessica, give us a little bit about the name of the book and, just a few things that people can do, practical things, so we can know when you get off this live right here, whether you're watching on YouTube or whether you're watching on Facebook, when you get off of here, you will know these are some things that I can do. Which one do I feel comfortable enough to go ahead and start doing today? And you know what? Before I even got on this call, I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I told God, break our hearts for the things that break your heart. Help us be selfless. When I look at Mariah, what I see is a generation being raised up of people, young people that are selfless, a selfless generation. Many times we have bad things to say about the younger generation, but what I can say is when I see somebody on the front line out there protesting, don't have to, because she got the white privilege. In other words, she got the t-shirt, the fake, the skin, everything. She don't have to, but her heart was convicted to the point she said, I want to make a change. I want to be a change maker. I want to shift some things in the atmosphere. So we come today to dismantle some things and to shift some things in the atmosphere. So if you get off the call and you're not sure how you feel about Traci anymore, I understand. It's okay.
It's going to be okay.
It's okay.
Wow. Thank you again, Traci, for doing this. This is so powerful, and I think it's so meaningful. I bought this book, Can We All Get Along? And it is by Clyde W. Ford. I bought this book. I was moved to buy this book when I was a senior in college at Southern University, HBCU, which means Historically Black University and College, built by us and for us because we could not go to white universities. And I was there, and I graduated in 1992. But while I was there, the beating of Rodney King happened in LA. And if you don't know about it, Mariah, you need to Google it because it is paramount. And it moved me to buy this book. We protested in college. I wore the shirts, no justice, no peace. So when I tell you this is nothing new, Mariah, I've been where you are at your age doing the same thing. And unfortunately, we're still here. My parents, my grandparents, I've gone from slavery to my parents, founding a school bus company to transport black and brown kids to school because they couldn't ride the bus. And now the organization that I founded is giving scholarships. So we have come a long way, but again, we haven't. And so this book is like, if you want to be an anti-racist, it's like a good Bible for that. It has everything in it. 50 steps you can take to help end racism at home, at work, and in your community. A lot of people that I have encountered, this is what I'm finding with some of my personal friends that are Caucasian. What can I do? There's nothing, that I don't experience that. It's not in my community. You don't experience it. Thank you, Annette. Just because you don't experience it doesn't mean you can't use your voice. Mm-hmm. My plea is to use your white privilege. How? Start in your home. Start with conversations at your dinner table. If you do not start having these conversations in your home and with your children, you will create police officers that can keep their knee on the neck of an African American for 8 minutes and 43 seconds. Mic drop. Yes. Yes. You have to talk. You have to communicate. And Traci said her number one thing for this, number one mission or initiative or goal for this Zoom or this conversation, this what is it called, Traci?
Self-Care Saturday.
Self-Care Saturday is education, and we need an education. This book is available at Amazon. I bought it in 1992, you guys, and it's still available. It is still amazing. It has a wealth of information on things that you can do. And one of the things, I'm just going to read you just real quick, Traci, and then I'll let you go. But some of the things that you want to start with: understanding racism, the problem of racism. Get to know the changing face of racism. Avoid using the word race. These are just chapters. You use non-racist language. Inventory your life experience with racism. Examine your personal views about racism. Reclaim your personal history. Learn about your history, who you are. Learn about America. Please, I'm going to stop there. Learn about America. America has never been great for a people. Only for some. America was built on the backs of slaves for free. So this book, and Traci mentioned reparations, and she mentioned Jews are known for having money because they receive reparations. Well, you take a people, specifically African-American people, and enslave them for over 400 years. How long do you think it's going to take generations and generations to catch up? We have to use our voice to make a difference.
I wanted to touch on something, if you don't mind, Jessica, just in regards to allyship, as you were kind of touching on with the book and how it gave you avenues to have effective allyship. And I really wanted to introduce this concept that we have talked about a lot in Sunrise Movement, as we are a climate organization that is fundamentally rooted in equitable transition, as well as BIPOC liberation. And for those of you who may not be familiar with the term BIPOC, it's Black, Indigenous, people of color. A lot of the time we refrain from saying POC because we understand as an organization that the Black and Indigenous communities are the most disproportionately affected by systemic racism and oppression, and therefore also the most entitled to reparation. So we like to use BIPOC as a common part of our vernacular in our movement. But a big thing that we talk about in our anti-oppression work that we do within the movement is this idea about allyship versus accomplices. And we really adopted this language around how we approach anti-racism work, and ally is a really common one that we use. And for the most part, really heavily positively associated with people who are willing to stand up for the movement. But it also represents this sort of passivity around activism. An ally is a fan in a stadium. It's somebody cheering people on. They're sitting there in their comfortability and in their privilege, and being able to say, you guys go do all the dirty work. We're going to stand up here, but we support you, And that leads into so many unhealthy forms of allyship, like optical allyship, which looks like, you can share a Facebook post or post a black square on your Instagram and call it allyship, and you've done nothing to further the movement or amplify the voices of your BIPOC community. And so we really like to lean into this idea of accomplices. And I always hear like my beautiful colleague's voice queen in my head when I say this, because she explains it so beautifully. But it's like, we don't need people in the stands. We don't need people on Facebook. We don't need people texting us and asking if we're okay. We need people on the front lines with us. We need you in it. We need you to be an accomplice to this movement. We need you in the streets. We need you in your homes having those really difficult conversations that you mentioned. We need putting yourself on the front lines of this issue. And I really like that. And I think it's really helped to transform how I approach my own anti-oppression work and myself and in my communities is like, what can I do to actually make sure that I am integrating myself into the experience and being an active participant in this movement?
Wow. I just want you to date my son.
I'm blown away.
We love you.
Wow. Traci, I want to add, not to her because she's so eloquent, I cannot speak. Oh my God, 22. Seriously, I have a 22-year-old, very cute son that, oh my God, you are amazing.
Oh, you're too kind.
I was listening to Oprah. Well, she had this different discussions and forums that she does all the time. And I think one thing that stuck with me, why people don't understand, well, first you have to want to get educated, right, and do something. But it's the word privilege that people have an issue with. People define privilege so differently than what the definition of privilege is. And she said, if you could use a synonym, whatever, sorry, my Spanish coming in, not cinnamon, but synonym, to privilege is advantage. So think of white advantage. And maybe in your head, if you never thought about white privilege and understanding what that is not being white and being rich, that's not, that could be one sort of privilege, but that's not what this is about. It's the advantage that we have because of the color of our skin. So privilege, think of it as an advantage. And it is, that's what it is. And not having that creates a disadvantage on the other side. So anyways.
Yeah,
I thank you for that, Annette. I think that's awesome that you broke that down that way, because
yes.
I have found in my friendships too with white women, I'm not privileged, and so you sharing it that way, and I've shared it that way as well. If we both walk into a store and you're treated with respect and I'm not, that's white privilege. It has nothing to do with how much money you make.
Yeah, it has it all done, because somebody said I grew up, I had a conversation with somebody said I grew up with nothing, very poor. And I said, I understand. Well, I didn't, so I don't necessarily understand that, but I hear what you're saying, but this is not what the term white privilege means. Is the advantage simply because of the color of your skin, not necessarily of your pocketbook, even though, like Traci said, when you do have the pocketbook and you do have the advantage, then there's a responsibility that comes with that, because people listen when you have resources, right? It's just the way that the world goes around. But
well, I think the word, I heard it get tossed around a little earlier in conversation, this idea of systemic. It's that word and that comprehension, which I think is it's so macro that sometimes people can't feel or identify the full scope of that. They're like, oh, well, this, George Floyd was an isolated incident, or, all of these occasions that we're hearing, they're isolated incidents because they're not able to take a step out of their own experience and out of their own privilege and see the macrocosm that is systemic oppression and racism in this country. And so hearing that word get thrown around earlier, and it's so much to go into, in such a short amount of time, but when you're able to start breaking down these issues as systemic issues, you start to understand why these conflicts between, like, well, I'm white and I didn't have a wealthy upbringing, that doesn't give me privilege, or I'm white and I had to work really hard, or I grew up under the Reagan administration and he said if I work hard then that's how I get successful in this country. All of these like really backwards, really damaging ideologies that have been inbred, as you said, within the American culture, kind of start to unravel and become irrelevant as you look at it on a systemic scale. And that's something that, like, if there's anything to take away from a conversation about race or oppression in this country, is like, do the work to understand that this issue transcends whatever event you thought was not a big deal, or that you thought people were overreacting about. This is quantum in how this country was founded, and it permeates every system that we operate within. And so that kind of immediately dismantles a lot of that argument of, well, I'm white, but it's like, you're white, but you're white, and that trajectory of how you're able to navigate and access opportunity in this system.
Well, that's what you're saying is I just want to say one point. I love it. And what I may have said it earlier was the voice. When I say ally, I don't mean a Facebook post or something like that. I mean like what we're doing here and what you're doing the work. allies that work. But as far as the voice and the power of the privileged, I have put this on social media and I've been saying it, that the privileged who hate will continue to hate until the privileged who love join with us and speak up against the injustices of other human beings that are non-white. And so that kind of goes in with what you're saying. It's the privileged, and we have to let them know that they're privileged. When you speak, when your voice speaks, when Annette voice speaks, it can very well, in many situations, out Trump Traci's and mine. And we could be saying the exact same thing. But there is a privilege with your color. And when your color speaks, it's golden. That's why you have what you call Karens calling the police on black men, because of the power of the white woman's voice. And that's why I am so intentional in pulling us white women together and us black women together and us brown women together, because the power of our voices collectively can change this world, period.
Absolutely. And I know in my personal anti-racism journey, I'm trying to find this balance between using my voice and understanding that element of privilege, and using that to the advantage and to amplify that of my Black sisters and brothers, as well as also understanding that white voices have controlled the narrative of this country since its foundation. And so how do you release control? And I think this is where a lot of people get really tripped up in this work as well. It's like, you have to release control of the narrative. You have to hand over the narrative to a voice that is telling their story and their experience, and amplify that, while also understanding the privilege that you had just mentioned about how optically and culturally it's received differently coming from two different bodies. And that for me is, I think, part of the work I'm doing right now, is like, how do I amplify but also use my voice, and where do those, and it's challenging. It's challenging work, and to sit with that duality and to sit with that awareness and understand when it's appropriate to use your voice and when you need to be using your platform and your privilege to amplify the voices of others.
I would agree. Now, I'm sorry, we are out of time totally. I knew that this was going to be a fast, juicy conversation, and I really appreciate you guys coming back on. I would love to be able to invite you again if that is something that you're interested in doing, because like Jessica said, and Jessica doesn't know this, but she inspired me to do something like this, to use my voice, to use a platform. And I want to just encourage all of you that we all have a platform. If you are shy and you don't like to talk, that's okay. There is still a way that you can use your voice without talking. You can start a blog and you can talk when you write. And people, one thing about writing, when you put it out there on social media, it's out there. It will stay. It will last. When you go to a protest, you don't have to be the loudest one in the crowd. You can just hold up your sign and you can be right there. You don't even have to have a sign. You can be there to stand in front of somebody, the black girl or the black guy that was getting ready to get massacred by policemen just for being there, and because of the color of their skin. You can do that. Now, oh man, I got a really good question that I want to ask, but I got to keep to my word to be on time. Seriously, because I was going to go to Rosewood next. And so I know Rosewood, I know that we can do a little talking and some educating there. But I want to encourage you. I won't be back next week, I don't think, but I will be back the following week. And I'm going to have a lady on here, Carolyn Hammond. Some of you guys know her. She's awesome. And hopefully a few more. Mariah, I would love for you to be able to come back. This young lady has set my heart on fire. Really, I'm seriously, and I appreciate you, Annette. The things that you have said have really sparked some interest in us. And I think that we have done what my vision came to set out to do, was to shake some things up, whether it's emotionally or whether it's in our mind, and to educate us on what can we do, no matter what we are, where we are, who we are. We can all do something, because I will tell you this, it may seem like white privilege is a thing, but here's the thing, everybody in society is affected. When one person is affected, we're all affected, because we are all connected, whether you like it or not. I hear that in the that listen up because of what I'm saying, but we are all connected, whether you like it or not. So when one person hurts, it hurts the next person. I know for me and my family and many other families, we're all black, right? But I am sure if I do end up having a grandchild, my grandchild will be mixed. And I know a lot of us are in that situation. So just think of it like that. Just when you see somebody on the highway, you don't have to talk, and you see that they may be pulled over and be mistreated. You don't have to talk to get out your phone and start videotaping and streaming live. It ain't nothing extra. So whether you're shy or not, you have a voice. Use your voice. Speak up. Don't let white privilege take you down the road or the wrong road where you just use it for pride, but use it humbly and use it wisely. And so I just want to leave you guys with that today. And some of you already know I still have this thing going on, a challenge that I want you guys to keep praying that prayer of Jabez, 1 Corinthians 4, 9, and 10, that God will bless us indeed. Make it as specific as you possibly can, that He would enlarge your territory, that His hand would be up on you, and that He would give you peace and you would cause pain to no one, not even to yourselves. So if this conversation has disrupted your thinking, has broke something in your heart today, my job is done. Peace out. Love you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.